Your AI sidekick has arrived. That's right. Turn off the bat signal because Blaze is here to save the day. Blaze is an AI sidekick for overwhelmed teams of one just like you. Brainstorm and outline content ideas with AI. Go from idea to on brand content in minutes. Turn a blog post into 10 plus asset types, ads, social posts, emails, and more. Collaborate with colleagues in real time and get content approved. Go to drT23.site. That is DRT23.site. Navigate to Blaze and download today. On this week's episode, Penny Hardaway has chimed in on the NIL debacle and he has a lot to say. We will also take a look at what LeBron sounded off regarding Caitlin Clark hatred in relation to his own stint coming into the NBA. And Dak Prescott said, what? All that and more coming up on this new episode of A Win is a Win. Let's go. It's time for the Rookie Rundown. Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. Well, it is time for another episode. Yes, if you can believe it, I know we just talked a few days ago, but it is time for another ep. And before we jump into it, all that, pot of gumbo and cornbread on the side. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. And don't forget to listen. Tell somebody to tell somebody else to join A Win is a Win. And listen, I see when you guys are listening, and I love it. Love it even more if you subscribe. So go ahead, take a few seconds, hit the subscribe button. See? Didn't even cost you a thing. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit that bell somewhere on your listening device so you get the necessary notifications when a new episode drops. Let's jump into this rookie rundown. Now, listen, I've mentioned Derek Lively quite a few times as a rookie to watch, and it seems that he is the last of the rookies standing in this year's class. And you know what? Honestly, it seems that Lively is the Wolves' kryptonite. He's an absolute monster. Now, Lively continues to show his impact each game throughout these finals. Now, let's take a look at these numbers. In game one, 9 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 blocks. Now, we look at Cat, Ant, and Gobert shot 0 for 10. Listen, with Lively as the primary defender. You cannot tell me that he's not playing lights out in this series, in these finals. The young man is definitely balling, and we cannot even forget that he's a 21-year-old child, just about balling. So shout out to Lively for showing up and understanding his assignment at every aspect. We're going to get into some campus gridiron next. It's time to hit that campus gridiron. Well, we definitely have our first NIL deal gone wrong. That's right. Jaden Rashada's lawsuit against Coach Billy Napier may be the first of many to come. Now, Napier promised $1 million to Jaden if he committed as a Gator the night that they met. But was only contingent upon him signing that night. Well, Rashada didn't get his payday, and the boosters never made good on the deal. Now, the lawsuit states that Jaden had a $9.5 million NIL promise from Cane's, which is, the chicken strip restaurant, packed out every other restaurant that you drive through. The line is out in the streets. Not my thing, but people love it. Now, he signed his letter of intent within the December signing period. But in total, between his NIL deal and his deal with Cane's, he was promised 13.8 million. He has yet to see any of the money. Now, offering $1 million is in violation of NC2A policies. Now, NC2A alerted Florida last year that it was being investigated for allegedly violating recruitment rules. Now, what does that mean? Well, you can't tell someone to meet me in this back alley and sign this contract and letter of intent to be a Gator, and I'm going to slide you $1 million. Doesn't work that way. So I feel like there are many more of these messy NIL lawsuits to come. Now, on the heels of that, Penny Hardaway chimed in on NIL deals and his thoughts on that. Let's see what he had to say.
This NIL thing, I, as a former player, obviously happy that the guys were getting paid for that. But this thing is turned upside down, to be very honest, man. It's major now. It's not small. It is major. Some of these numbers for guys early are okay, but the later it gets and you got to have them, that might jump up 200,000 or 300,000. You start thinking, hey, man, you're not Evan Turner or Andre Iguodala, man. I don't know about that, bro. I mean, it almost becomes a business because now when I start paying you that much money, to me, it was already an expectation. Now it's even a higher expectation because now you're getting a ton of money. You're making more than my assistant coaches. How is it?
Now, it's interesting to me because when he said that, I understand it in both ways. Let me say this. I do think those young men need to be paid. Too many years, okay? The NC2A has made money off of March Madness tournaments and many other things, and the players don't see a dime of it. I get it. But at the same time, there needs to be structure, not for the players solely, but for the universities as well. So there is some structure so that everyone is measured, looked at, and held accountable on the same level. Now, some people didn't like what Penny Hardaway had to say. Some people even were scathingly disrespectful by saying no one comes to a game to see the assistant coach. And, I I get it. People are going to have their opinions, but in a large scheme of this NIL thing that's happened, look at how many of the universities, how many coaches are backdooring deals because they're seeing money that they've never seen before. And at the end of the day, in my opinion, it is the name, image, and likeness of the player that the sponsor is interested in. The person who is meeting with the potential endorsement deal, whether it be Nike, whether it be Reebok, what have you, okay? It's their name, their image, their likeness, and they just so happen to play for this school. But it's their money. But at the same time, yes, there needs to be structure. And that's just how I feel. I've always said that. I'm on record for saying that in this podcast. But come on now. Y'all can't be disrespecting Penny Hardaway and acting as if he has no contribution to the NBA and his word is not, He has no contribution to this conversation when he is one of the top players that should be mentioned more in conversations. So, opinions are opinions. I get it, but you have to understand what your opinion is based on and who you're basing opinion on, and make sure that the opinion has some facts to back it up, and know that player's history. He can say that. And no, people don't come to see the assistant coach, but at the same time, he has a point. I'll just leave it at that. We're going to get into some sports news next. Jump in the chat though and let me know what you guys think. This week's fun fact: defensive liability. Players are shooting 90 of 216 at 41.7% field goal percentage when guarded by Luka Doncic these playoffs. That's the lowest field goal percentage when guarded by any player this playoffs. Let's get back to the show. It's that time. Yep, it's time for some sports news. Up 2-0 over the Pacers, and they play later tonight, I believe. Yes, 5:30. Jaylen Brown was asked about the All NBA team. Let's take a listen.
You didn't make an All NBA team? No, I wouldn't say that.
What would you say?
I mean, we 2 games from the finals, so honestly, I don't got the time to give.
So that's what Jaden Brown had to say about the All NBA team. And don't get me wrong, I believe reporters have a right to ask what either they're feeling or they are told or what's written. But at the same time, the look on his face is like, okay, cool, I get it. But that's not my concern right now. My concern is the chip. And we are 2 games away from that, potentially 3 if they beat the Pacers later tonight. So with sometimes I get that there's a job that needs to be done, and by all means, there is never a wrong question, and perhaps there's never a wrong time to ask that question. But at the same time, there is something called discretion. And I think that sometimes you have to use your discretion. Obviously, it's a sore subject. Okay. So should this be perhaps of a list? I'm not a reporter. I don't go to pressers, so I don't know. If someone is who's listening, please feel free to jump in the chat and correct me if I'm wrong. But if I have a list of possible questions, or maybe I don't, is this a question I should be asking at this particular moment? He's not worried about it. And sometimes what we think a player is worried about, given the noise that's made elsewhere, it's kind of nice though for them to bring, the reality back to no, I am literally just focused on the game. Now, Shams of the Athletic, y'all, I this one I can't. He reports that the Lakers believe that JJ Redick has the feel of Pat Riley. Quote, he says, the Lakers are infatuated with Redick's potential, according to league sources, viewing him as a Pat Riley-like coaching prospect who could both help the franchise in the short term and lead it for years. Y'all hear those crickets? Yeah, because that's just about where I'm at with this. He's like, who? Pat Riley? Listen, dear Lakers organization and the Bus family, if y'all are just gonna hire JJ, then just go ahead and say that. Stop with all of the nonsense, okay? Please knock it off. This has gone way too far. Yes, that's LeBron's co host on his Mindset of the Game podcast. Okay, cool. They have a rapport. But that rapport on a podcast does not translate over into coaching, especially when the potential coach has no coaching. Now, some stuff I can slide on and I can understand. This one, I'm not going for it. Listen, Pat was a player's coach with experience. JJ talks on a microphone, and that's no diss to him. You're good at that. Now, I get everyone has aspirations, and yes, you can't be a coach unless you start from somewhere. Well, here, start him under someone. Start him as an assistant coach that can learn and gain the. Now, do I think that he will have some respect in the locker room? Absolutely. But sit him on the bench and let him get a feel for the game. There hasn't been an AAU, a middle school, a elementary school, a NYB basketball, a YMCA, none of that. So where I get all of the hype around JJ, bring it down some. Bring it turn the volume down, the bass and the treble on that. Pat Riley, are you kidding? Hold on, y'all. Wait a minute. Hold on. That's how I feel about that. LeBron sounded off about all of the ongoing Caitlin Clark drama. And I'll tell you what, let's listen to what he had to say, and then I'll tell you exactly, my thoughts.
I love that she's bringing to her sport. More people want to watch. More people want to tune in. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it fucked up. Caitlin Clark is the reason why a lot of great things is going to happen for the WNBA. But for her individually, I don't think she should get involved on nothing that's being said. Just go have fun, enjoy, But I'm rooting for Caitlin because I've been in that seat before. I've walked that road before. I hope she kills. I hope Aaliyah Boston does amazing. I hope they do great. I'm just kind of in this mode right now because I'm getting the same, thing from watching my son, who's a 19-year-old, kind of getting a lot of animosity and hatred towards him when he's just a kid trying to live out his dream. There's a very small number of men and women that actually get to live out their dream of playing a professional sport. And we have grown ass men and women out here doing whatever they can to try to make sure that does not happen. That is the weirdest thing in the world, but it is what it is. And I'm glad that Caitlin has a great head on her shoulder.
So that's what LeBron had to say about, all of the hate. And of course, as LeBron often does, he is going to put it in the likeness of his own, journey through in the NBA. Here's what I think. Jump in the chat, y'all. Let me know exactly what your thoughts are. Caitlin Clark, by no means, personally, should get any of the hate that she's getting. Personally, because she hasn't come out and said a thing. That the young lady has simply been trying to transition and play this WNBA basketball, which she has learned here in a short period is very different than the college basketball she's played. That being said, Her issue is not her issue. Her issue is a media issue. Her issue is everybody else chirp, chirp, chirping and stirring the pot. Of course, you have old school players who feel a certain way because why is the media making her the face of the NBA when we've been here the whole time? Well, that's how the media does. They're going to create a narrative. When in actuality, you need to go to the players directly themselves because now if Caitlin Clark came out and said verbatim what is being assumed and being spewed in the media, well, then we would have to look directly at her. Her Nike deal was with Nike. So if you have a beef with Nike, then say that. But you shouldn't have a beef with her. There are many players that were drafted in the WNBA that completely took the views and the tickets and the seats and the subscriptions to the league pass, all embodied. Every single player had some hype around them. It was not just Caitlin Clark, it was the Cameron Brinks, it was the Angel Reese Cardosa, and all of these other girls were Kia Jackson. These girls were balling, okay? And if you looked at that WNBA draft the same as I did, you saw when each one of those young ladies went up on that stage, that audience lost their minds. And it wasn't even if they were drafted within the first round, it could have been the second round, 11th pick. They still went nuts. So we need to, take a step back and look at where the WNBA is going in a larger scale, and the media is responsible for this, not Caitlin Clark. Check this out. Dak Dakota Prescott says that, well, it never uh, was about the money. You know, that's what he said. It's not about the money. Let's take a listen.
Been able to be so patient when when it comes to the business? I don't play for money. Never have, never cared for it. To be honest with you, would give it up to play this game. So I allow that to the business people to say what it's worth. For me, it's about, as I said, control. I can control and handle that part, and the rest will take care of itself.
So here's my question. I'm First of all, I am sick and tired up to my ears, my neck, my forehead, everything else with the Dallas Cowboys. CD still's not paid. Micah still's not is still not paid. Dak is still not paid. And Jerry Jones is every other day on his radio show saying something that you have to try to decode. Here's my thing, you guys jump in the chat. I feel that it is very easy to say that when you know you have a guaranteed paycheck coming. I don't care about the money. Why? Oh, well, okay, because I know I'm getting 60 some $1 million. So let me know. I don't want to spend too much time on the Cowboys in total because once you start there, you go down a rabbit hole and can never seem to get out. But do you think that Dak Prescott was being genuinely honest in his take on I'm not doing it for the money? Let me know what you think. Jump down in the chat. Billy Price, the center for the Arizona Cardinals, is retiring after a major health scare. Now, announcing this morning that he had a pulmonary embolism in his both of his lungs. Actually, he says, "I'm thankful to be alive." He's unlacing his cleats and hanging up his helmet as the risk of internal injury is too great while on blood thinners. You know, it probably took a lot. He's only 26 years old, I believe. It takes a lot to walk away from the game that is your passion, but it's easier when it, has to do with your health. You want to be here, you want to be healthy, you want to have a family if you don't already have one. And although this may not be something that anyone is seeing coming, there is a point in time in any career. You don't even need to be a professional athlete, but in any career, if your health is not in line where it should be for you to be successful, then yes, you have to walk away, and there is no judgment about it. So, you know, just hoping he recovers soon, because let me tell you, a pulmonary embolism in one lung is not a joke, but two, he's very lucky to be alive. Now, listen, Otani's accountant faces federal charges for allegedly stealing $16 million. But listen, you all, I have I have questions, okay? I can't help it. My brain works the way it works, guys. I have questions. And if you have questions, jump down there in the chat and let me know what your questions may be. But for now, first, now that the amount allegedly stolen is 16 million and not 4.5, remember that is a large discrepancy, folks. It is really plausible that Otani wasn't aware of this. Let me tell you something. If it's $16 that's missing out of my checking account, I don't care if I make $400,000 a year. If $16 is missing, I know about it. Otani makes a lot of money, but this reflects a sizable share of his after tax income in the years that Mizuhara was betting with Otani's paycheck. So I get that baseball has the best contracts. They make a lot of money and a whole lot of it is guaranteed. But you mean to tell me you make so much money that 16 million was just like a dollar fell out of your pocket? Let me go on to my second question. What explains the gap between the 16 million that he allegedly stole from Otani and a much larger number, 41 million in net losses that the government reports he lost to the bookmaker? 41 million. What do you call it? Ace a ace, spade a spade? Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. Keep going, y'all. I was born that night, but not last night. Y'all know where I'm going with this. Jump in the chat and let me know if you find, listen, in your heart of hearts, okay, not your mind, but in your heart of hearts, y'all tell me if this don't sound like a bunch of bull jive. Isn't that how Coach Prime said? That's a bunch of bull junk. Bull junk. That's what he says. That's a bunch of bull junk to me. $41 million in net loss, sir. If you were my account and you misappropriated $41, we gonna sit and have a nice conversation. 41 million, knock it off. We are going to get into our poll question coming up next. Are you searching for some new NFL gear? Well, go to drT23.site. That is DRT23.site. Click the NFL shop link there. Enter your code NFL30 to get 30% off of your purchase. Let's get back to the show. This week's poll question, now that the inside the NBA will be off the air at the end of this year. Do you think A, the entire cast needs to go to NBC and do an in studio show there all together, or keep the name and go to Chuck's production company and continue it under Chuck? Let me know what you think, A or B. We'll be right back. All right, time for Go On Now. You guys let me know what you think about this segment so far. I've had nothing but positive feedback. So we are going to continue on with Go On Now. This week, we'll go to the security guard that pissed off Kelly Rowland. Yeah, so this week, following the Cannes Film Festival in Paris, there was a viral video that went out, and it shows that Kelly Rowland was finger checking, pointing, and you all know when a black woman points our finger, please know that it is beyond serious at that point. Kelly Rowland said this. She said, I have a boundary and I stand by those boundaries, and that's it. Now, she felt as though there were other people who didn't look like her who were given grace and time on the red carpet to address photographers. Hey, Kelly, over here. Kelly, look this way and take this picture and do this and do that and shake hands with certain people, etc., and whatever else goes on the red carpet. This security guard didn't extend the same grace to Kelly and hurried up and rushed her off the carpet and up the stairs. And when Kelly turned around and told her, do not touch me, she continued to touch her on her back as she proceeded to walk up the stairs, to which Kelly turned around and looked at her like, okay, now you have pissed me off. Well, she didn't stop there. She continued to chatter, which whoever the gentleman was that came down the stairs obviously had to be in a higher position than her. Looks like he's attempting to diffuse the situation, not knowing if Kelly Rowland was going to go there. She continued to talk, which Kelly Rowland, for me being a master lip reader, said, do not talk to me like I'm a child with the finger pointed stiff. Like, please, I am trying not to come out of character on these steps, but please understand that this Houston slash Atlanta will come out over here all the way in Paris. So evidently there were some boundaries clearly crossed, from what Kelly said and what we saw. So this week's go on now to the security guard, because you did not want that problem. That's going to end it for this week's episode of A Win is a Win. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. And don't forget to tell someone to tell somebody else to come on over here and join A Win is a Win and listen. Hit the subscribe button. I know it's a relationship. You feel like you're committed, but I want you to be. And it won't cost you a thing. Hit the notification bell so you know when a new episode drops. And don't forget to catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcast. And I'll catch you next week.